you? Today I'm going to show you how to do a lovely craft. It's a Stone Age craft. I've been making my own Stone Age tools. I'm going to show you some. Here is a hand axe that I've made. So you can see it's got that lovely hand axe shape, that pointed shape. And over here, this is more of a kind of Stone Age scraper that I've made. And this here is a lovely spear that I've made with this lovely spear top. Now in the Stone Age, these would have been made from a hard rock called flint, a sedimentary rock. And the process of making them would have been something called flint knapping, which is where you hit one stone with another stone to chip off tiny pieces. It's a very slow process and very, very difficult. It takes a long time. So instead of doing that today, we're going to use a different material. We're going to be using a basic bar of soap and a simple butter knife or knife from your kitchen, not a sharp knife. I'm going to show you how to create these amazing tools out of soap. Okay, so to make your hand axe shape, as you can see, we've got this kind of teardrop shape, the classic teardrop shape, and the aim is to get these sharp edges going to a point. So we're looking for a sharp edge on this side and a sharp edge on this side. It's a kind of cutting tool. So we're going to start with a bar of soap. I found the best soap for cutting is this, the Imperial Leather soap. It's really easy to cut. It's really nice and soft. Another one I found that's quite good is this, the Simple soap. Some of them are a bit harder, but it's all possible. So any soap you've got lying around is fine. It just might take you a bit longer. So obviously, keep your bits, like I've done here. You'll be able to use these again at the end to make new soap. So I'm going to take the label off here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to think about what shape I want my hand axe to be. Now I'm using a butter knife that's got no serrated edges. You can use an ordinary knife like this. You just might leave some little marks on your tool, that's fine. So I'm going to start just marking this sort of classic teardrop shape. And then just as if I was really flint knapping, I'm just going to start taking small bits off at a time. So I'm not going to take big bits off, just little bits, just small bits like this, along one face, until I've got the shape that I want. Okay, so once I've got this main shape, this kind of teardrop shape, I'm just going to start taking away tiny pieces of the rock or the soap, always thinking about trying to get this sharp edge down this side and this sharp edge down this side, and a kind of flattened feeling across the whole thing. Remember, this would be a tool for cutting, maybe cutting animal skins, maybe cutting meat. So it would have been a really, really important tool, and it needed that sharp edge because of course there were none of these, there was no knives. So I'm going to start with one side, then on the other side just cutting in. And I'm starting to get that nice sharp edge, making it as straight as I can, but not too perfect, of course. Okay, so you can see here I've got this really nice shape now that I want, this kind of teardrop shape. And I'm starting to get these really sharp edges. Like if I wanted to sharpen them up, I'm just taking tiny little flakes off. In the Stone Age, these little flakes were actually used to make really, really sharp tools like arrows. These are called microliths, these tiny little pieces of flint that would come off. Very sharp, and they were used for things like sewing needles and arrow tips and very dangerous weapons. So, this is starting to be how I want it. Now this is a hand axe, so this wouldn't be attached to anything. This is a sort of Paleolithic, Mesolithic tool that would be held in the hand and used for cutting and chopping and maybe scraping. If you wanted to make something more like this, so this is my spearhead. I'm going to show you how to do that now. Okay, now to make my spearhead, and an arrowhead is just a smaller version of this, you can see I've got this more triangular shape. And at the bottom I've got these kind of little wings with this kind of waist here, and that's where I would use string or twine to attach this part to my stick to make a really nice spear or an arrow. So let me show you how I'm going to create that shape with a slightly smaller piece of soap. Okay, so you can see now I've got quite a nice triangular spearhead shape. Now I need to create this little waist that's going to help me to tie it onto my stick, onto my spear. So I'm just going to cut in here a little bit at the side, and about the same place on this side. I'm just going to cut in, and I'm just going to create a little kind of triangular waist like this and like this. And now I just need to make my spearhead a little bit flatter. It's a little bit fat. So I'm just going to start taking some stone, some soap, off the front and the back to kind of flatten that shape down to make it like a really realistic spearhead. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the shape of this now. It's got this nice triangular shape. It's got this nice waist. Now to add my stick, I'm going to use my knife and I'm just going to create a little dent in the bottom like this. See what I'm doing there? To make my stick really stay. Obviously in the Stone Age they would have used something sticky, maybe some sap, maybe some beeswax to help attach their spearhead. But because our soap is soft, we can just create this little hole here. Now here's my stick. I'm just going to push my stick in like this so I can check it's nice and attached, and then I'm going to use some string or some twine to just tie that on. So if I can do this for you, I'm just going to check this is on, and then my string is going to go kind of round this little waist, and then I'm going to cross it over like this, and then it's going to come up the other side, round again, cross over the other way. You can see that? Round again, and I'm just going to flip it over. I'm just going to keep crossing it over and going round until it feels really secure. This is just how they would have done it in the Stone Age, but with twine, obviously, not string from the shop. That's feeling pretty good. I'm just going to go round one more time. Round here, and you might need to ask a grown-up to help you do a really good knot to make sure that's on really, really securely. Okay, and that's my finished spearhead. Obviously, if you wanted to make an arrow, exactly the same, just a smaller version, so a smaller top and a smaller stick, so maybe a kebab stick or something. So that's it, that is soap napping. Much easier than flint napping, but a similar technique, and you might get a feel doing this of how it would have been in the Stone Age, spending some time making your own tools when there was nothing available from the shops, for everything you wanted to do, for hunting, for fishing, for defending yourself, for catching your food. Everything would have been made from stone. And the last thing I'm going to show you is what you can do with all these lovely leftover bits of soap. So I'm going to take you into the kitchen and show you what to do with these, okay? Alright, so once you've got your leftover pieces of soap, I've got mine in a bowl, I'm just going to start breaking them up into little small pieces. So as you can see here, it's mostly really small pieces, a few bigger chunks. That's absolutely fine. Now I'm going to add a tiny bit of water, a tiny bit. So I don't know if you can see, that's a very small amount of water, about 2 tablespoons. Any more than that, I'm just going to get slime. And I know you like slime, but we do not want slime right now. So I'm going to add this tiny bit of water and start mixing this soap mixture up with my hands, hoping that it's going to come together as a kind of lovely soapy dough, a bit like bread dough. That's it, and once I've got my nice dough, I'm just going to start forming it into little sort of snowballs like this. They might feel a bit sticky, but once they've dried out overnight, they'll make lovely soap balls that you can put in your bathroom or give to people as presents. So there's one there, and that's what you can do with your leftover soap. That's it. So that's everything from me. I hope you have fun with your Stone Age tools. Make sure you ask an adult before you take anything or use anything. Have fun. See you next time. Bye bye.